Schmooze or lose. Get your geek on. Schmooze or lose. Get your geek on. Comic, sci-fi, fantasy. So much more, just come and see on Schmooze or
Okay,
Lose.
Schmooze or Lose fans, we're back with another interview. And this guy is a living animation legend. He worked with Disney and several other publications in the industry. And behind me, you'll see his name, Philo Barnhart. This guy's worked on the Black Cauldron, probably one of my favorite animations of all time. I think one of the most underrated Disney animations ever. He's worked Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, another one of my favorites, Secret of Nimh, even the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, which starred Vincent Price's voice, if I'm not mistaken, correct? So this is Philo, and he's working on a character, and it looks like Belle.
It is Belle.
It is Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
He in her outfit from the beginning of the film.
And this is his. And I was talking with Philo earlier, and he was talking how the face of Ariel actually had a little influence from another one of my favorite animators, Hayao Miyazaki, with a studio. I always get this wrong, Ghibli or Ghibli?
I think it's Ghibli.
Studio Ghibli.
I think it is.
And who's
I could be
done
wrong, too.
some amazing films if you haven't watched them.
Yeah,
So,
Kiki's Delivery Service was one that we looked at quite a bit.
and that was one of his earlier ones.
Actually, Glenn Keane got me turned on to him during early work on Mermaid.
So Miyazaki
and-
kind of influenced you a little.
He showed me My Neighbor Totoro,
Oh,
Kiki's Delivery
definitely
Service.
classic.
And the other ones that were out at the time.
So how did you get into working with Disney? Can you just give us a little background story?
How did I get into Disney eventually? Well, my parents had actually met there in 1944.
So your parents met
Yeah.
at Disney
The war-
World Land?
No, they were in Burbank.
Okay,
But Dad was originally from Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
okay.
And he's basically a farm boy. And my mom was from St. George, Utah. Her father, my grandfather, was a Mormon poet, a very famous one.
Oh, wow.
His name was Henry Asa Fowler. So if you want to type that in online out there,
What? We'll
sometime-
Google that. I
Yeah.
want to Google that now.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
He was a striking-looking man too. Like an Ezra Pound type. So you can look him up too.
Oh, wow. So what was your first project that you did with Disney?
First project would have been Winnie the Pooh and a Day for Eeyore.
Winnie the Pooh, The Day for Eeyore.
And that was in
I got a
1983.
question. Was John Walmsley the voice of Christopher Robin in that?
That I'm not sure, but he was in Burbank at the time. So
there's a
I used
possibility.
to see the cast of the Waltons come into the Bob's Big Boy in Toluca Lake, which is right at the border of Toluca Lake and Burbank.
And we have John
And,
Walmsley sitting over here. We just interviewed
Yes,
him.
yes.
Bring him up.
He's wonderful. All those kids were wonderful. They were so well behaved. They would come into the restaurant, and I'd be eating there with my mom, and they weren't on a Hollywood trip or anything. I know I'm digressing from what we're talking about, but they were really down to earth
Oh, wow.
kids,
Yeah.
and
Well, meeting John
that was a
really
wonderful
nice.
show,
Yeah.
and they made it more
Their
special.
personalities, I think,
Yeah.
came through
Yeah.
the acting. They
Yeah.
were really who they were.
Yeah,
We got Charles over here looking at us, who is Philo's manager.
and I had other
He's
people.
going to sneak around here maybe. We're going to interview him about
Okay.
his work and his comics. And
I had other friends that worked with
what was your favorite
Some of them.
Disney animation that you've done? Your favorite one, if you can pick one. That's a tough question.
well, certainly Little Mermaid, because I had a hand in designing 3 of the characters.
So you designed
developing them.
Ariel from Little Mermaid.
I worked on developing her with first with Dan Haskett and then later Glenn Keane. Plus we had the initial drawings that Chris Buck had done long before I joined the production. But I really liked what Chris had done, so I tried to incorporate some of the things he saw for her into what I was doing.
And,
And I started with Ursula, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you designed Ursula also.
Developed her. A
developed
number
her,
of us would contribute
so you're part
ideas.
Of the design process with her.
We were the last people to touch her before it went to Ruben Aquino, who was actually my old friend from HannaBarbera days.
Oh, which one was that
Ruben
now?
was with me at HannaBarbera.
Oh, wow.
So we all kind of shadowed each other, all of us. And we were all friends, different studios all down through the years. And Ruben and I started at HannaBarbera.
Oh, wow.
And
that's another, I think.
Ruben Aquino, who was the key animator on Ursula.
What all did you do with Hanna-Barbera?
Well, you can show them the titles up there on the banner. Also studio.
Ghosts of Scooby-Doo was Hanna-Barbera.
13 Ghosts. That was later in the 80s.
Yes.
I went to work for other studios right after the 70s were done, and then returned after that. The other projects were done to work on Smurfs and 13 Ghosts and Pawpaws, things like
wow.
that. Gem and the Holograms.
You did Godzilla. That was the
Godzilla.
80s cartoon.
That was with Doug Wildey.
I remember that.
Who
That
originally
was a great
did
cartoon.
who originally did one of my favorites as a kid, Johnny Quest.
Yep.
So that was my boss on Godzilla, and I worked and met with Dave Stevens, who ended up doing his own comic called The Rocketeer, little comic called The Rocketeer, which became a big Disney movie later, and also Rick Hoberg, they were all comic book artists back then, just young guys. And,
wow.
That was, I think, their first show for Hanna-Barbera.
So. The Black Cauldron, we were talking about, and I think I mispronounced it, the Prydain, was it Prydain Chronicles?
Prydain Chronicles.
I always mispronounce that.
Lloyd Alexander
Did you read the books before you worked on the project? Or?
I did while we were doing them.
So that's kind of like
there were,
research.
I think there were 6 or maybe more of them.
Well, I know Disney took a lot of like Hans Christian Andersen's stories and brought them to life in animation.
They did in one way or another.
I'm sure you probably read some of that as inspiration.
Some of them were.
Ideas.
Some of them were. In the case of Hans Christian Andersen, some were made into short films later on, and I didn't get to touch those, but they did a version of Little Match Girl and some other things.
We were talking earlier how how much heart and how there's just a completely different feel and a look with hand-drawn animation compared to CGI. It's just, to me, I like the older animation, the look, the feel. There was just something it's just like moving artworks.
Well, it is.
Whereas CGI to me still feels like I'm watching a live action video
That was
game.
actually Walt Disney's goal, especially with Sleeping Beauty. He didn't feel he was getting the wonderful pre-production art that people like Mary Blair and Ivan Earl and some of the other designers for his films were doing. He didn't feel that was translating to the final animation. So he really wanted Ivan Earl to sit on everyone and make sure they did his vision for the film, which was the tapestries, medieval tapestries mixed with mid-century art idioms. And that's like the Sputnik kind of futuristic atomic age, really Spartan, cleanly drafted artwork. And he wanted every frame to be like a painting. And it in fact was. That's why it took them so darn long to make the movie, because it was a very exacting process.
Wow. And so, you come to conventions and the shows, and I'm sure so many fans from Disney, it's just an honor to meet you. You're a living legend to us.
Well, thank you.
A community that grew up watching animation. You do commission artworks like this right here is simple sketches.
Yes,
And so people can contact you and request different artworks. And
yes, they can, or they can come on out to
come to the show,
their local show.
If
they know we're going to be here.
You have a Facebook page where people can follow.
I do. It's my name, which is the spelling is on the banner here.
So you can find Philo Barnhart. We'll have the information come up on the screen right now.
Just put my name and then the word art after it, and
you'll find it. And you can contact him directly. Come out to the show, meet this wonderful gentleman. He's so talented. Some of these artworks here, it just brings back so many memories for me, and just just watching you draw.
Well, it brings back memories for me too every time I draw them. So.
And it's just this is to me was the gold. You worked during the golden era, to me, of Disney. It was the peak.
It was another golden era. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just amazing to be here talking to you.
We worked hard to bring that back again to where it was.
I know, like my niece Ashley, I'm mentioning her name. She'll be watching this. Loved the Little Mermaid. Watched all the Disney shows and stuff. So, it's just like I said. These shows, like coming out here, getting to meet you, like you, puts you out front. Whereas, everybody knows who Ariel is, but there would be no Ariel if there was not a Philo Barnhart.
Well, we were comfortably behind the scenes, let me tell you.
I will tell you, fans love to meet the people behind the scenes that really, like I said, there would have been no 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo if it wasn't for people like you.
They were a pleasure and a joy to work on, every single one.
And we've had, like I said, just ultimate pleasure watching them. So it's been awesome. So thank you for the interview.
Absolutely.
And like I said, you can follow Philo on Facebook. You can contact him for some commission work. I'm going to be contacting his manager because I'm going to be getting some nice commissions from him. And he signed a bunch of stuff for me. It's amazing. Cool stuff. So pleasure meeting you.
Yes, likewise.
Take care. Many blessings.
Thank you so much.